as a person with albinism, the sun is something that you shouldn't be exposed to because you are at a higher risk of cancer of the skin and other conditions. Okay? And so with that exposure, that's why I think I'm fortunate. Because the amount of exposure that I have gotten, I'm surprised I still look this way. I am personally surprised that I still look this way because I was exposed. I laugh when people that have melanin, right, that substance that makes the skin dark, right, that black people have. I laugh when those that have melanin, they apply substances to take it away, to make themselves lighter. I really laugh because I'm born without melanin. That's the one thing that makes me a person with albinism. There are other genetic criteria, right? And so not having melanin means that when I'm exposed to the sun, it affects, I'm not protected. Let's just leave it at that. And so it's like the light is passing through the skin, passing through the body, passing through the organs. And so there's a higher risk of skin cancer because of the exposure to the ultraviolet rays of the sun. Then when you're exposed to things like bites and stings, they show easily. If a mosquito bites me, it's just a mosquito, but you think that I'm about to die because of the way the bite would look. The skin is strong like any other skin. It's just that exposure to the elements and that absence of melanin means that things that could go wrong have a higher chance of going wrong, right? Things that could affect normal people will affect us even more. So basically that's it. It's not like, I can get caught in the rain like any other person, right? But if I get a heat rash, for instance, and that heat rash gets infected, then I'm at a higher risk. Anything can just turn to skin cancer, right? And I'm sure doctors, I'm not a doctor, so even though I'm a person with albinism, I just have basic knowledge in caring for myself. But dermatologists, have a lot of information available that if you have a child or you have a relative living with albinism, it's very important for you to get medical information so that you can provide for them the best care. I would say that my growing up was like any regular middle-class Nigerian child. And in that respect, I think I'm fortunate, my father was in the army, afterwards he retired. My mom had a private business, but she was essentially a homemaker. I'm not the first child, I'm not the first girl, I've got older siblings looking out for me. So it was just a normal family, we went to primary school, secondary school, all of that. I had a more or less middle class upbringing. So in that regard, it was normal. But because I was a person with albinism, I think that there are certain things that my parents did that may not have been ideal, but that was all they knew. There was no information then like we have now. So I think that they do better, they would have done better. But even what they did, there was no special treatment, so I wasn't brought up. I didn't realize I was different very early. When I was young, growing up, I didn't realize I was different because my upbringing was just the same as my siblings. So yeah. My father, being a military man, has traveled all over the country and even beyond in the line of work. And so we all went to school, at least up until me. My younger siblings schooled closer home because according to him, security issues, Nigeria is no longer what it used to be. But we all schooled far from home. I have a sibling that schooled secondary school in Kano. Then he was in Kano, but her school is now in Katsina State. I had siblings that went to Jos. I went to Kaduna. So I schooled in Kaduna and I went to military school. And when you go to military school, you wake up early in the morning, you take cold showers even in the Hamatan, you have duty even under the hot sun, you cut grass. So I was exposed to the elements, I was exposed to the elements, and I think that they do better. They wouldn't have exposed me to the elements. There are parts of Africa that persons with albinism are hunted down for their body parts. They have this kind of like belief that albino bodies have what's the word now? Metaphysical value. And so if you use a person with albinism to make juju, right? That all of that, I don't understand it. So they hunt them down. Lack of information, lack of exposure means that people believe that persons with albinism are deficient in one way or the other. They think that they don't have intelligence. Now, one of the things that persons with albinism suffer is that because there's no melanin, there's no color, our eyes are very sensitive to light. Okay? And a lot of us are born with congenital eye defects, and it ranges. For example, I can say this in public: I don't drive on health grounds. I can see, but I don't drive. And I don't want to go into the details of why I don't drive because it took us off the conversation. But my younger sister is a person with albinism and she drives. So it means that her own eyesight is not as heavily impacted as mine. And so when you have a person with albinism who is short-sighted, because we're short-sighted, and I'm having to strain to look at my device, right? People take advantage of that short-sightedness. They think they can cheat the person with albinism. They think the person with albinism is, lacking in intelligence and cannot read, because we need to take a bit of extra effort, to read. They think that the person with albinism is not beautiful by their own definitions of what beauty is. I'm fortunate because I was born into a family where my father could afford to send me to school. My father could afford to buy me glasses early on to protect my eyes and to at least help me a little. I've seen persons with albinism, looking for money and selling ice cream. The ice cream bicycle that people push on the road. Exposure to the elements morning to night under the sun because you are trying to hawk chips or you are trying to hawk ice cream, it never ends there. So I'm fortunate that I was able to get an education. I'm fortunate that I come from a family that will feed me, healthy food. So I'm not breaking out because of something I've eaten. I'm fortunate to be able to afford healthcare, so that even the times I've been ill, right, it's not been worse than it was because there was no money for healthcare. So that's why I consider myself fortunate, because I know that there are others that go through things that are even more difficult than what I have had to go through. Anybody can be friends with a person with albinism. Taking them home to mommy, that's a whole other conversation. I want to take them home to mommy. And then mommy that doesn't know about albinism begins to wonder, mommy and daddy, can she have children? Will her children look like her? Right? And there's just, even when they tell me I'm beautiful, but they don't want to take me home to daddy. You understand? Because they don't know how to explain to daddy, right? And then there's the other side where there's curiosity. You can't tell if the young man is interested, can see me as a person, or can they just see a lady who looks different than every other lady they've dated, and so they wonder what it's like to be with a person who looks different under the clothes. So early on, because I was self-aware from a young age, I got to learn, I got to understand about male curiosity, even female curiosity. I think where the world is now, I can actually talk about that openly, being propositioned by females as well. And I know it's just about the curiosity, So I've had to deal with that, and I'm fortunate that I was aware, self-aware, early enough. And so I don't have any dramatic tales of, somebody broke my heart, they didn't really like me, and then, all of that. Nah. because of the kind of values that I have and values that I've had from early on, I never got to the point where I was dating someone and then I broke it off because they were curious. No. The only thing that I can say is I found out later, when we were much older, right, after my first marriage ended, when a platonic friend lamented that all of us were your friends then. How come nobody asked you? How come you never got married to one of us? How come we all sat down and allowed that idiot to treat you like that? So that was when I realized that, okay, I was friend zoned. So I think for me, it wasn't I was too aware for a person to fall for a person's curiosity because of the values that I had, but I was friend zoned. So people who ordinarily might have liked me for my personality just friend zoned me, and so I would never know. I became serious in my faith from a very young age. The first step is that in my family, I wasn't treated any different, And so the good thing that happened is that because I wasn't treated differently, I didn't realize very early that I was different. By the time I was going to realize I was different, I became serious with my faith and I realized that God loved me. God loved me. He has a purpose for my life. There's a reason why I am the way I am. And I quickly began to realize that I was very gifted. I'm a very gifted person. There are about 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 things that I do quite well, that I've been paid. I do it well enough to be paid to do them. And so, in coming to an awareness of who I am, I realized that being a person of value, having value to offer to the world, is a good way to justify the kind of attention I'm getting. Because in my part of the world, I'm a Nigerian from West Africa, and all of us over here are melanin people, we're black people. We're black in skin and black in culture, right? And so I'm in a room. For example, I've been in a church where we had 6,000 people, a church of 6,000 members, and I was the only person with albinism at that point in time. So you can imagine, you can't hide. So if everybody is noticing me, I need to give them something positive, something impactful, something valuable to justify the kind of attention I'm getting, right? And so I've had a lifetime to understand that my life is in a fishbowl. I can't hide, right? I tried to be naughty when I was, 14, and I got caught. And I realized very early that no, you can't be naughty because you are the one that will expose everybody, right? So that was another thing that being a person with albinism did for me. I got my moral compass settled very early. I realized that I own my decisions and I live with the consequences very early. So I'm in possession of my own soul. I understand that if I take this decision, this is what will happen. If I don't take it, this is what will happen. If anything is going to change, I'm going to change it. And so I'm not one of those people who is looking for who to ask for what I should do. I could ask you what you think. I could ask you your view. I could ask you your opinion, but I will never ask you what I should do. Because I realize that I'm the only one that knows what I should do.